Hi. This video is going to be a little bit different just because my fiance is asleep in the other room and I am not trying to scare the cat down here because she's still kind of getting acclimated to being here. So I thought what better way to do that than to try and stay calm while reacting to the two latest EPs that are likely going to give me multiple seizures. And that will be Muerte's Grave Altar EP and Hukae's Brain Training EP. I'm just going to knock these out in one just for the hell of it because I really want to hear both of these. And if I don't listen to them at the same time, I'm going to procrastinate again. So we'll get started with Muerte's, I guess. Grave Altar, First Gravel in Your Heart. I think there's only one collab on this one. Classic Muerte strings at first, and now we're into a build, I'm assuming. Okay. That, like, one-shot yoi. Unreal. That was so just thick sounding. That gravelly sub underneath. Okay. Off to a solid start. That super gritty, loud sub that was in that was... It added so much depth and just thickness to that whole drop. Like I said, those one-shot, like, yoi kind of basses were awesome. The switch up into, like, the kind of, like, orchestral toning in the second drop was awesome. The way I always describe Muerte's stuff that leans more in the orchestral direction. I said this a lot about Occult Lullaby, more so with Dream Chamber and Body of Bones, where I describe it more so as, like, rather than orchestral music being kind of converted to fit into a dubstep context, it feels more like the other way around, where it's formatted as an orchestral piece and it just so happens to have dubstep as a part of it. It very much sounds so different from any other strings I've ever heard incorporated in this kind of music. And it's awesome every time. I have nothing. The only negative I would say, maybe, and this is just me nitpicking, is that kind of fade out at the end was a little harsh. But like I said, that's me looking for something wrong. That was awesome. Mud in Your Veins. This is also solo, right? I think it's just the last track that's a collab. I think everything else is solo. This is some dark hip-hop shit. I love this atmosphere. That drum fill into the build was really cool. What do we got? Oh my god. Oh, that kind of like a little lag behind for a second. And that kind of like arcade sound almost at the end there. Yeah, that had a lot of force behind it. I like how a lot of the time with his drops, he almost incorporates the drums in a way where they feel like a part of the rhythm of the basses. Like it almost feels like they're used like another bass. That's not something I feel like is seen enough. What do we got? Short build. Oh, that's it? You just cut it off like that? Dude. The triumphant vibe of that orchestral bit and like the strings underneath and the horns. Holy shit. I don't even know how to describe it other than just triumphant. Like that sounded like victory. Oh my god. I expected there to be strings at some point. I did not think it was going to be that. And then the kind of lag behind to let that one sound at the beginning of the measure like spring almost. Like just kind of like fade out and then come back in. Okay, yeah. This is rolling. This is rolling. Oh, 5 minute track. Opus Regalia. Yeah. I need to stop checking. I already said that the last one is one of the collab. I know this isn't going to be all orchestral, but I was kind of hoping. I want to know how he does this, because if this is MIDI, holy shit, because it sounds real. What is this build? Why did this just get so evil all of a sudden? Oh my god. The string use. That went from the dirtiest MUERTE drop I've heard in a minute to just strings focus out of nowhere. I did not even notice the transition, and it just happened. Every time I start getting motivated to work on stuff in Ableton again, shit like this happens. And then I just don't want to touch it anymore. And I love how the build just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, all of a sudden, you're just like, oh, something is very wrong. Fuck off with the clap. Pause. What was that, like, laser gun sound? Just, again, like, managing to keep that fresh the entire time. And just, like, the constant changing, how nothing sounds the same. The little ear candy in there. I love how every one of his projects so far has had at least one of these. That, as far as, like, stuff with, like, the orchestral focus. Like, I consider, like, Body of Bones to be the one from Occult Lullaby. And I guess that's kind of the equivalent here, where it's just, like, a longer track, give it more space to breathe and kind of expand. It's, yeah. It's really good. And that clap switch, man. that got me. Tu me dice. I forgot what that means. Yes, I'm doing this. You tell me. Okay. There's what I thought it was. Okay. Let's see. Alright. Mariachi dubstep, here we go. Already sonically very interesting. The flow switch, get the... I grew up watching, like, all sorts of westerns with my dad. That was such a distinct, like, spaghetti western vibe. I'm actually, like, in awe of this track right now. And the flow switch into the more bouncy flow. I think this is the masterpiece. This is the one. This orchestral bit in the middle is so good. Oh god, what is this? No. Okay, this is the collab with Rap Forum. I need to take a second. I legitimately don't know if I can sum that track up. That was one of the best fusions I've ever heard, period. Like, one of my favorite tracks that fuses the classic the classical instrument style with electronic is Casino Royale by Glasspack. And if you've heard that song, you know that it's this very grand, like, orchestral piece, basically. It sounds like it would be from a James Bond movie, mixed with his usual, like, really glitchy and wet sound design. And it's incredible. This beats that by a fucking mile. That is one of the best tracks I've ever heard, bar none. I need to take a second. Okay, let's finish this up. Corpse Wax with Raptorm. Okay. I was not expecting that amount of force. I wish the drop wasn't so short, but I'm still already finished after the last track, so this is like, this is overkill at this point. Once again, the string work here. Oh, you son of a bitch. I'm still out of sorts after that last track, so I didn't react as expressively as I probably would normally. But the die ad-lib was no joke. That was extremely forceful. That was an awesome way to end that. I wish the first drop wasn't that short, but the content of it was awesome. And those off drop sections were beautiful. The builds still felt like they had that orchestral feel to them. Like, even though it's very much an electronic thing, it's something about just the way they sound. It sounds like they're building up using like drums you would see and percussion you would see in an orchestra. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that track. It was awesome. And then that kind of like detuned. I don't know what instrument that was. If that was like a sitar or something like that. But it sounded awesome in that fake out. That this EP is getting saved. Actually, I'm gonna save it right now because holy hell. Um, if I had to pick something overall for what my favorite track off the EP was, I don't know if I could give you a straight answer. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna listen to this regularly. I will also likely end up clearing out some room in my playlist to make space for probably all of these. So, off to a flyer. uh, you don't need my recommendation to go check us out, but largely because everyone knows who the fuck Muerte is. But if you have not listened to it, go listen to it. If you have not listened to Occult Lullaby, I don't like you. Uh, so yeah. We're gonna move on to Hukae's Brain Training EP on Malignant. Now, Hukae is very hit or miss for me. I love a lot of his stuff. There's some stuff that it's not I don't think it's bad. It just doesn't really hit me like a lot of people. But I don't really think I've ever heard anything of his where I actively just straight up disliked it. So let's see what we got going on here. The Thinker. Also, no collabs on this one, I'm pretty sure. There we go. Ooh. Okay. I love all the little ear candy they put throughout this. Chuckle. And then the switch into the flow. But it's a Hukae track, so obviously it's not going to stay. I always find this whole like new rhythm style that he does and like guys like Primal Rights do. Well, I mean, Primal Rights is a massive fan of his, so I might pause for a second to take myself out of the hole I just dug myself into. He does not bite his style. New rhythm, anyone can make it. I know that he is a big fan of Hukae. I think he said Hukae is his favorite artist. And Primal Rights also makes good new rhythm. I'm not saying he's ripping anything. Let me make that very clear. But yeah, there's a lot of artists who do this style very well. Guppy dabbles in it. Yeah, I always find it super interesting. Just like even if it's not something where I'm just like actively jamming out, like, oh my god. It's just really cool hearing all the little touches that get thrown in there, hearing all the different kind of patterns that get thrown around. It's very much for me a genre where I spend most of my time just appreciating the art of it. But yeah, let's keep it moving. Now that I've hopefully diffused that. I wish that little bit with the flow would continue for a little bit longer. It's such a clean flow. Solid start to this. Ooh, wait a second. He does atmospheric stuff very well too. Like this whole part right here is really pretty. It doesn't make sense that it's pretty because that whole track was kind of heavy, but not even remotely complaining. It was a very, very well crafted outro. I mean, I pretty much covered it in the middle of that track because I was saving myself from channel suicide. But yeah, I mean it's just staple Hukae. And not saying it doesn't stick out from the discography, it definitely does. It's just like his signature style, and I always enjoy listening to it. So, I mean, really not much to touch on. The percussion choice is great, the sound design's great. I do wish those bits that had like a standard flow would have continued on a little bit longer just because I was a fan of it. But I mean, I understand the choice to not keep it that way. Don't panic. I'm gonna keep checking these just to make sure there's no collabs, but I'm pretty sure there's not. Oh, that little snare. Sigh. Those pretty ass vocal chops in the back, are you serious? That's not the atmosphere I thought he was gonna go for with this. Those almost reminded me of like vocal chops that Skrillex would have used back in the day. I'm aware that I slurred my words for a second there in the middle of that. Just we're gonna act like it didn't happen.
Would you like to die?
Preferably not. Is that a glockenspiel? And somebody dropped a jar lid on the floor. The scream. Yeah, this is not giving me the mental... This project is not giving me the mental beating that Grave Altar did, but, I mean... I wasn't expecting it to. Like, I'm here trying to dig myself out of another hole. I'm not saying that this is a bad project. I am very much enjoying listening to this. It is just the other project was trying to kill me. This one is about showcasing what you can do with these sounds. Two different purposes. Hang on. But I'm glad that that's the case, because it's allowing me to kind of appreciate more of what he's doing with this. I love the idea of like the weird kind of alternates for the snares and just kind of like keeping it super spacey and just open. Almost kind of an unfinished vibe to that track, but in a very, very good way. I like the kind of like breathing room that it has. And then incorporating those vocal chops in there that again reminded me of like the old school Skrillex stuff. Like it's just that was a really cool listen. I like that one. Access Leap. Sounds like the beginning of a drill track. Very interesting. A lot more cinematic than his usual intros. With Reese. These fucking lasers and the guns. What was I just saying about this project not trying to kill me? Where did that come from? Is this the new heaviest UK track? UK. Is this the new heaviest UK track? Because I know it was Dismal before. And that's in my playlist. This might be going in there. I normally hate that like telephone sustain. I like the way it's used here because it fits the kind of aesthetic that's going on. It's not used in an obnoxious way. Yeah, that was really cool. I like the whole kind of idea of it almost sounding like a spaceship battle or something, and that's why I like the way that he kind of repurposed that telephone sounding sustain to where it sounds like something just kind of like flying off into the distance. Um, yeah, all the sounds in that were insane. There was so much beef to the guns and the lasers in that. I don't think I've ever heard lasers that fat. The drums were really good. I wish the kick was a little bit louder, but it didn't sound out of place, so I can't really get on him too much for that. Um, yeah, I mean that was just really solid atmosphere. Like it fits so well with the off drop sections too, having that like speaking part in there, which I always love when people like incorporate speeches and stuff into the intros and everything. I always think that sounds really good. Um, Rainbow Road by Nano B is one of my favorites when it comes to that. But I actually remember as a little aside for a second, when I first was getting into producing, I attempted to make a track where all the sounds in it was like a trap song. All the sounds in the drop were like gunshot sound effects or like different aspects of guns, like a gun cocking and gunshots and stuff like that. And for the off drops or for the intro at least, I actually used a a Charles Manson speech for the intro. That one's kind of lost to the archive because it I made it on a PreSonus Studio One because I didn't have enough money to get an actual DAW yet. But I might try to get it at some point. Who knows? Uh, I got way off topic, but were you trying to get out of the cone again? Anyway, okay. Not me saying okay. Let's get started. I'm saying the song's called Okay. Why does this already have a cool flow? Every time I make a comment about something that I wish was different in the drop, the next song has that. Like, what I was saying on the Muerte EP about how very few artists incorporate the drums as a part of the flow of the drop. Hukae is another one that does that a lot, and I like it. The punch behind that kick, sorry, and the airiness because that like white noise over it. Yeah. What do we got here? It almost reminds me of like a really messed up, like old school hip hop track. Like one of those like really old experimental hip hop tracks. Just because of the way that kick sounds. How liquid that sound is. Yeah, I mean, I have. Okay. Yeah, I have no notes on that. That was really cool. I love the structuring of those. I love the sounds that he put in there. Those like really wet sounds in that second drop. Just the kind of like sounds getting thrown in there. But it seemed like the main focus was definitely the drums and the actual beat itself. And I love that idea. I think it's really cool. Uh, yeah, I have very little say on that. That was easily one of my top contenders for this EP so far. What are you doing? Anyway, Alarm Song 2. I'm gonna look up the original Alarm Song because I don't remember this one. I don't know if I ever heard this. Okay, gotcha. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. I have to kind of ride the bounce that this has. I like how this was brought into the more modern context of his sound. Like, this is more closely related to what he does now. The original wasn't too dissimilar from his more recent stuff, but this was definitely leaning heavier in the new rhythm kind of direction. I dig it. It's got a cool flow to it, but it still kind of has that randomness. Like the descending kind of sound. I like the pulsing of the cymbals as well. The hats. It's also always funny to me that he doesn't really have VIPs, he just labels them as a sequel. That was cool. I like the I feel like I've said that after every single one of these. But like I said, I like the kind of bringing the original idea into the more modern context. It is very clearly an alternate version of the original. It's very clearly a VIP. But I guess labeling it as a sequel makes a bit more sense because it is literally the same song, just a different context. And I like that idea. I think it kind of meshes really well with the project overall. And it's just it's a cool kind of callback for a second. Uh yeah, I mean, again, no notes really. It's just really solid. I like the kind of like descending pattern in the actual like initial drop, and then just kind of like the little touches throughout the pulsing of the hi hats the entire time, or at least for the switch ups. But yeah, that was cool. Stop saying that. Finishing up with Only You. I have not been checking for collabs, but I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure this is solo. Melodic. Melodic garage. Yeah, this is super tasteful. That bass line underneath is super clean too. The vocals sound really good. There's another idea that I have been waiting for since, God, I think 2020. That I was hoping this was, but I'm totally cool with this. I feel like he's gonna start doing this on all of his EPs. Like, I have the final track be a melodic track or something, kind of off the beaten path for him. And I'm with that idea. Semi-Detached is probably one of my favorite tracks by him. It's kind of funny how the chops of the vocal almost sound like a little horn. Because it is really just kind of sweet sounding. The vibe on this is super relaxing. If that was like a mainstream like Europop track, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah, solid ending to the project overall. I like the thing that he's doing now where he's finishing the projects with something that's kind of a little different. If I had to pick a favorite for that one, it would probably either be Access Sleep or OK. But overall, very solid. I think Alarm Song 2 might be the only one I wouldn't go back to, but that's just because, like, it's a VIP. I don't really mess with VIPs that much unless they're, like, really crazy. But, yeah, I mean, solid EP. I did go into it a little bit drained already because of the Muerte project, but that didn't take away from this at all, in my opinion. Like this was all very solid. I'm likely gonna download this whole thing as well. Actually, let me save that as well, just real quick. Hukae. He changed his picture to just a brain. Let that do that real quick. Yeah. So overall, I'm not gonna pick a favorite between the two EPs, but these were all very solid, and yeah, I like them both very much. Uh, what do I still have to cover? Okay, there's a lot that has already come out that I still need to do, which is gonna suck. I still need to do Knights of the Round Table Volume 6, The Awakening compilation, and Jaqui's new EP, and 4's album. Uh, Knights of the Round Table Volume 6 is the only one I'm kind of iffy on, just because I've heard very mixed reviews about it so far, and it's 30 tracks, so. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Uh, yeah, that's it.